Section 6.4, we're going to talk about maybe one of the most important topics that we're going to cover in Algebra 1. It's going to be on the fundamental theorem of calculus, which has two parts. Now, one of the parts we've actually been actively using already, and it's the part about being able to evaluate a definite integral using antiderivatives. On this page, I just want to go over some general antiderivatives with you, just so that you recall those. These are derivatives you already know, but obviously they're kind of backwards, okay? This first one, the integral of b to the x dx, is going to be b to the x times 1 over the natural log of b plus c. Now, compare that to, remember when we were finding the derivative of something to the x power, that would be b to the x times the natural log of b. Well, now we're finding the antiderivative, so the antiderivative is b to the x divided by natural log of b. Notice the plus c, the constant of integration there. Because it's an indefinite integral, we don't know if there was a constant like a plus 5 off there before we find the derivative. So you'll always need to put plus c when you have an indefinite integral. The square root of x. This one is not one you're going to memorize. We know that square root of x is x to the half, so we reverse the power rule. We start by adding 1 to the exponent, so that would give you 3 halves, and then multiplying that by the reciprocal 2/3 x to the 3 halves, and then of course your plus c is on there. Secant squared is a derivative you should recognize as a derivative of tangent x plus c. Cosecant squared, we know negative cosecant squared is the derivative of cotangent, so going the antiderivative of cosecant squared is negative cotangent x plus c. Secant tangent, you should recognize that as the derivative of secant. Cosecant cotangent, you should recognize that as the opposite of the derivative of cosecant. So just be able to apply those derivatives now into antiderivatives. One important thing, we're going to do some reversing some simple chain rules also in this section. If I have the antiderivative cosine of junk dx, if the junk is just a simple antiderivative where the derivative of the junk is just a constant, same kind of thing. So for example, let's say I had to find the derivative of cosine of 4x, for example. We know that would be a chain rule because I have to differentiate the outside and then the inside. So the derivative of cosine we would say is negative sine of 4x, but then I would have to multiply that by the derivative of 4x, which is 4. Okay. Well, now I'm going the other way and finding the antiderivative. Instead of multiplying by the derivative of the junk, I'm going to divide by the derivative of the junk. So like if I had to find the antiderivative of this, the antiderivative of cosine junk is sine of junk. And then since the derivative of this junk is b, I have to divide by b before adding c. Okay? So in this case, secant junk tangent junk, we know that's the derivative of secant junk. Now since I'm finding the antiderivative, instead of multiplying by 4, we will divide that by 4 before adding a constant. Check your work. If you found the derivative of this, it would be 1/4. Derivative of secant junk would be secant junk tangent junk times the derivative of the junk, which you notice would cancel these out, and there's your integrand. Okay, you can always check your answer very easily. Antiderivative of sine, that would be the negative cosine of junk divided by the derivative of the junk, which would be dividing by 3, so negative 1/3, and then plus c. Cosecant squared, you should recognize that as the derivative of cotangent, but it's the opposite. Notice whenever you get a cofunction as an antiderivative, you'll notice it's going to be negative. So cosine was negative. Secant was not. It's not a cofunction. Cotangent will be negative. Okay? And then, of course, divided by 3, and then plus c. Okay, so make sure you know your antiderivatives and look for those constants. The same thing could happen, by the way. Let me add one example to this. If you had like the integral of 1 over 4x. Now in this case, you can use the constant multiple rule. You could say 1/4 times 1 over x dx. And then 1 over x has an antiderivative of natural log of the absolute value of x plus c. Remember, with the natural log, you always put that, okay? All right, so sometimes you can take that out. In this case, this 3 I couldn't take out because the order of operations wouldn't allow it, so be careful. Okay, let's evaluate some definite integrals. So, as we've done earlier, antiderivative here, I'm just going to have to reverse the power rule. Let me grab a different color here. Let's go purpley. Okay, so x to the third. So we're going to add 1 to the exponent and multiply by the reciprocal. Plus, again, add 1 to the exponent and multiply by the reciprocal. And I want to evaluate this from 0 to 3. So this is the antiderivative. And remember, when we evaluate this integral, you're finding out how much its antiderivative changes from 0 to 3. So first plug in 3 to figure out where the function finished on the interval, minus where it started, so you can find the total change. So we're going to put 3 in. So 3 to the fourth is 81 times a fourth. That would be 81 fourths. Plus, now put 3 in here. That'd be 9. So half of 9, that would be 9 halves. Minus, now you put in 0. When you put a 0 into a polynomial, you're just going to get 0. So I have 81 fourths plus 9 halves, which can be written as 18 fourths. And adding those, I will get 99 fourths. And of course, you can check these answers very easily using fnint on your TI-84 or 83 or whatever you have. Okay, now this one. The 3 in front is a constant multiple. That can be taken out and integrate from 0 to pi sine of 2x dx. Now this is one of those chain rules because it's not just sine of x, it's sine of junk. So to find the antiderivative, I've got 3. Antiderivative of sine is the opposite of cosine, junk, divided by the derivative of 2x, which is 2. And I want to evaluate that from 0 to pi. Now, let's make sure this is right. So if I differentiate negative 3 halves cosine 2x, I should get this back. Let's just make sure. So that would be equal to negative 3 halves. Derivative of cosine is negative sine, so that'll change that to positive sine of junk, times 2. The 2's cancel. Sure enough, 3 sine 2x, that's what I wanted, so I know it's right. So equals negative 3 halves. Leave that out. Put 2 pi in, so it's a cosine of 2 pi minus, now put 0 in, I get the cosine of 0. Well, 0 and 2 pi both terminate on the positive x-axis. They would cross the unit circle at 1, 0. So if I find the cosine of this angle, remember, this is both 0 and 2 pi, they're both going to give me the x value of 1. So this is going to be negative 3 halves times 1 minus 1, which gives me 0. So the sine function doesn't change at all from 0 to pi. Okay, the change is 0. On to the next. This one, you'll notice the first term is pretty ugly, so we probably want to rewrite that. Let's go from 0 to 1, and this is x times x to the 1/2. So in the corner here, if I go x times x to the 1/2, that should give me x to the, I add the exponents to the 3 halves. So I'm going to rewrite this as x to the 3 halves plus x to the negative 1/2 with respect to x. So now find the antiderivative, add 1 to this, I'll get 5/2, and then multiply by the reciprocal, which is 2/5. Do the same thing here, add 1 to -1/2 to get positive 1/2 times the reciprocal, so that's a positive 2x to the half, and I'm going to evaluate this from 0 to 1. So plugging in 1 first, 1 to any power is 1, so I get 2/5 plus, put 1 in here, I get 2, minus, put 0 in both of these, I get 0. So 2/5 plus 2 is 2 2/5 would be your answer, or 12/5. And again, that is easily checked using FNint. Here we go, secant tangent. Now this is not a process. This is, hey, I know that. That's a derivative of secant. So the antiderivative would be secant x from pi over 4 to pi over 3. Substituting, I get the secant of pi over 3 minus the secant of pi over 4. So pi over 3, that terminates in the first quadrant. Pi over 3 is like a 60-degree angle. So across from that would be radical 3. The adjacent side would be 1, the hypotenuse 2. So what's the secant of pi over 3? Hypotenuse over adjacent, so that would be 2 over 1, that's just 2, minus the secant of pi over 4. Pi over 4 is also in the first quadrant, and that's an isosceles right triangle, 45, 45, 90. So both legs are 1, while the hypotenuse is square root of 2. So again, hypotenuse over adjacent, that would be square root of 2 over 1, or just the square root of 2, and there is your exact answer. Now, find the area of the shaded region, use FNint to evaluate. Okay, let me turn my calculator on here just so I have it when I'm ready. Boy, I didn't turn my marker off. I'll get that later. Okay, so find the area of the shaded region. Well, this is not a recognizable geometric figure, but I know this is the line y equals x, and I know this is the curve y equals x over x minus 1. So if I can partition this area right here, this is a triangle. I could find the area of this triangle, or I could just say it's the area under this graph. So this is the area from 0 to 2 of x dx. And again, I either could have done that, or I just could have done a 1/2 base times height, okay? Plus, the rest of the area is from 2 to 4. That's not under x, that's under x over x minus 1, which we are not quite ready to find the antiderivative for yet. So we're going to use FNint. So I'm going to go math number 9. Of course, I didn't want to do it on this screen. Trash that. Let me go back to my home screen. Clear. Okay, there we go. So math number 9. The integral is from 0 to 2 x dx. Plus math 9 again. Now I went from 2 to 4, and I forgot, was it x over x plus 1 or x over x minus 1? It was x over x minus 1. Okay, so I'm going to get my fraction key here. Beautiful. X over x minus 1 with respect to x. And let it churn out. 5.099 if I round it. 5.098 if I truncate. So let's round it. What the heck? So 5.099 would be the approximate area here. Let's see if that seems reasonable. 2 by 2, so this half of that would be 2. This is almost a rectangle. That would be 2 by 2 also. That would be 4. So that would be 6 if it was all the way here. So it had to be less than that. So that seems reasonable. We'll continue the lesson on the second video.